The series begins with the introduction of our main character, Anita, who is a member of the popular idol group called Mascara. She rose to stardom quickly following her debut and is admired by everyone. One day, she and her fellow members put on a fantastic show, and their manager rewards them with a delicious meal as a gesture of gratitude for their good work. Despite her hunger, Anita refuses to eat the meal, claiming that she is on a diet. Later, her manager takes her to an interview for a role as an actress in an upcoming Korean drama. After some time, she rushes home after work, starving, and eats whatever she can find in the fridge. As she eats the food, a spark appears and she transforms into a chubby girl. She eats all of the food but is still hungry, so she calls a friend named Eugene and invites him to eat pork feet with her. A few moments later, she receives a call from the manager, informing her that she must do a shoot immediately. Hearing this, she rushes home and puts on a mask, transforming herself into the attractive and slim Anita before heading to work. At work, a staff brings her a cake, and when she wonders where it came from, he replies it's from a nearby cafe. She asks her manager to stop by that cafe on her way home so she can try the dessert. When Anita reaches there, she runs into Yono, a boy she used to have a crush on. Yono is surprised to see her and instantly hugs her, but the manager arrives in the moment and takes her away. It turns out that Yono had mistaken her for someone he had previously loved due to their resemblance. Anita, on the other hand, believes he is her fan and is thrilled with the happiness since her crush has hugged her. When we see a flashback of Anita from a year ago, she used to be a chubby girl named Chae-ri, and she had a crush on Yono, who used to run a bakery. She used to go on a lot of auditions since her dream was to be an actress. However, due to her weight, she gets rejected at every audition and is asked to lose weight and try again. To relieve stress, she goes to Yono's cafe with her only best friend, Eugene. However, when she sees Yono hugging another girl, she makes excuses and leaves the place. When she walks down the street alone that night, she wishes that if she will be born pretty in the next life, she is ready to die right now. Suddenly, a box appears in front of her, claiming that wearing this mask will transform anyone into a beautiful person. At home, she reads the rules of wearing the mask, which state that if she eats anything while wearing the mask, she will return to her previous form. Another condition indicates that she will lose a day of her life every time she wears the mask. Likewise, the final condition is that if she uses the mask after it expires, she will be unable to return to her original form and her lifespan will be reduced by half. Despite the risks, she puts on the mask and goes to sleep. The next morning, she awakens to find herself transformed into a beautiful woman. She can't believe her eyes, so she eats something, which causes her mask to fall off, and she returns to her original body. After that, she again puts on the mask and walks down the street, where she is discovered by an agency manager. In this way, she begins her new career as a K-pop idol, Anita. Back to the present, Anita walks to Yono's cafe to meet him with an excuse of buying pastries. However, she becomes nervous around him, and when he asks her to sign in the register, she signs an autograph in his hand. When he states that she needs to sign in the register and not in his hands, Anita becomes embarrassed and leaves. Meanwhile, Yono's co-worker arrives and is overjoyed to see Anita, since she is a huge fan of hers. When Yono inquires about Anita, his co-worker reveals that she is a well-known K-pop idol. Next, Anita's manager rejects all the food commercials for Anita since she cannot eat in public. She tells him she has an eating disorder and she's unable to eat in front of other people. The manager is also understanding and he comforts her by saying they will see the doctor soon. Later, Anita runs into Yono, who was called to provide snacks while they were shooting outside. Then her co-worker, who is quite jealous of her, forces her to eat a muffin in front of them. However, Yono interrupts the moment if they don't like it. Anita assures him that there is nothing wrong with his food and that she is just not hungry at the moment. After some time, Anita returns to her car, panicking from hunger. Meanwhile, Yono appears outside her car and nervously knocks on the window. He gives her the pastries and tells her that she can eat those later. He also assures her that it is fine not to eat in front of other people and that she should not be too anxious about that. In the meantime, seeing Anita's manager, he hides behind the car and pulls her along with him. As he urges her to be quiet while gently stroking her, the manager shows up at the moment and both of them become nervous. Later that night, Anita eats the cake as her mask slips off, transforming her back to chubby Chae-ri. She continues to blush as she recalls her time with Yono. Still hungry, she calls her best friend Eugene and goes out to eat with him. Sometime later, Yono and his co-worker come to the same restaurant, and Chae-ri tries to hide from him. Meanwhile, Anita's commercial shows up on TV, and Yujin declares that she is the most beautiful girl in the world and that his dream is to meet her someday. Hearing this, Chae-ri tells him that his wish has already come true, but he doesn't understand her. Chae-ri realizes that she doesn't have much time left to live as Anita since the mask is about to expire. So, the next day, she goes to the cafe and directly confesses to Yono that they stay in a relationship. Yono, on the other hand, rejects her by saying he's not interested, but she keeps insisting on asking him to give her 1 month, and if he still doesn't have feelings, he can leave. After she leaves, Yono's co-worker is angry with him and scolds him for rejecting Anita's proposal. Later that night, Yono stares at the photo of him with his ex-fiancée, who resembles Anita. Then we see a flashback to when he proposed to his fiancée for marriage. But one day, she was hit by a car while crossing the street, and sadly, she died instantly. This incident deeply traumatized him, and the reason he hugged Anita when they first met was that she resembled his ex-fiancée. In the meantime, Anita becomes severely drunk and approaches Yono in front of his cafe. She tries to persuade him to go on at least one date with her and passes out there. The next morning, Anita awakens to find herself in Yono's home. She feels embarrassed and tries to leave the house, but Yono stops her and tells her that he has decided to date her. Hearing this, she gets delighted and leaves for work. That evening, Anita meets Yono at his cafe after work, and they both go on a walk while holding hands. In the meantime, they are photographed by a paparazzi without their awareness. Next, Yono and his co-worker go to Anita's shoot location to provide snacks. When he opens the car door to surprise her, he discovers Chae-ri eating food inside. He is startled and immediately leaves after apologizing to her. Later, Chae-ri transforms into Anita and goes to thank him for the food. When Yono gets home, he feels embarrassed for showing up to a workplace like that and acts restless. In the meantime, his doorbell rings, and as he opens the door, Anita shows up there. She says she couldn't talk to him properly at work, so she came to see him. She then leaves, stating that she has a shoot in a few hours and needs to rest. After that, Yono keeps blushing as he thinks about her and rereads her messages. The next evening, Anita shows up at Yono's cafe, professing that she missed him. Then, she invites him to go on a picnic somewhere distant and away from the media. The next day, she prepares a significant amount of food for the picnic, and Yono arrives to pick her up. However, as she gets into the car, they are again photographed by someone. They finally go on a picnic and spend some quality time together. Yono tells Anita about his late ex-fiancée, who resembled Anita. They both pour their hearts out to each other and realize they're in love. Meanwhile, somebody else takes their picture, and Anita hears the shutter click. But they do not spot the stalker, and afraid of causing a scandal, they leave the place immediately. The next day, Anita's co-worker's dating scandal makes headlines. Therefore, Anita immediately informs her manager that she is dating Yono. Her manager is also understanding, and he advises her to be cautious and discreet about her relationship. She also informs him that they may have been photographed by someone, but the manager advises her not to be too worried. Next, we learn that the manager already knew that someone was photographing Anita and had threatened him to destroy all the photos. Later, he visits Yono and informs him that he considers Anita to be his sister and hence requests that Yono take good care of her. Anita goes out of town for a shoot and stays at a hotel. While she is on the phone with Yono, the doorbell rings and she begins to scream. Hearing this, Yono immediately informs the manager that Anita may be in trouble and drives towards the hotel. On the other hand, Anita is being held hostage by a madman who is a crazy fan of hers. He follows her everywhere, and seeing her with Yono enraged him to the point of kidnapping her. Sometime later, Anita requests food from the man, stating that she is hungry. After eating some food, her mask falls off and she transforms into Chae-ri. She then manages to break free and restrain the madman. Then, as she comes out of the hotel, she sees Yono panicking and searching for her, and she waves at him. But he ignores her and walks away, since he doesn't recognize her. On the other hand, Anita's manager arrives at her hotel room to discover the kidnapper being handcuffed. In the meantime, Chae-ri becomes upset when she realizes Yono is in love with Anita and not her. Suddenly, the mask appears in front of her, and she transforms into Anita and calls him. Yono rushes towards her, concerned, and kisses her, telling her how much he loves her. On the other hand, Anita's manager takes the psycho kidnapper somewhere isolated and screams at him for wrecking his plan and eventually kills him. In the following scene, it is revealed that it was in fact Anita's manager who made the mask to earn a profit from her. Anita has now completed her last day of shooting for her drama. She realizes the mask's expiration date is approaching soon. She also realizes that her life is too precious to lose, so she decides to live the rest of her life as Chae-ri and tell Yono the truth. But before that, she invites her best friend Yujin to dinner and lavishes him with food. Then, she says she has a surprise for him and goes outside to come back as Anita. Yujin is delighted to see her because meeting Anita has been his longtime dream. Later that night, she goes to Yono's cafe, where she is ready to eat in front of him for the first time. Before eating, she informs him that she has had a great time with him over the last several months and that she has achieved her dream of becoming an actress. Also, she states that she got to be with the love of her life, but she no longer wants to live under a mask and prefers to live as herself. She then tearfully tells him that she will always love him and proceeds to eat the cake. The scene moves to the future, where the story of Anita's disappearance for a year is on the news. Chae-ri, on the other hand, has become a well-known actress and is succeeding in her career. In the following scene, we see Yujin's girlfriend breaking up with him, claiming she has found someone else she loves. Upset, Yujin walks aimlessly on the road, wishing he was more attractive, and he discovers a mask that claims to transform anyone into a beautiful person. The series concludes as we see the flashback of the manager trying to create the perfect mask for a handsome guy. The end.